Hello and welcome to All the Way Down, a YouTube channel all about the Scottish rock band Biffy Clyro.
All the way down, all the way down.
So I did have another video that I wanted to put up around this time, but I thought I'd get this one out as soon as possible because last night I sat down and watched on iPlayer the Biffy Clyro, A Celebration of Endings live stream from the Glasgow Barrowlands Ballroom. This was a live stream that was put up last year, last August I think it was, the day after this album was released. I didn't really know at the time what it was going to be, didn't really particularly invest in it, so I missed it. But when I found out that it was going to be on the iPlayer, I thought I'd give it a watch. So last night I got everything that I needed to get done, got myself a brew and devoted a full hour to this thing. And I have to say, I absolutely loved it. If you don't know much about this live stream that occurred, here's a quick roundup for you. The live stream for A Celebration of Endings was broadcast around the world on the 15th of August 2020, a day after the album was released. For a fee of £16, you got access to a show of 3 sections: a sound check in which the band played a few old songs, a dressing room acoustic set with immersive audio microphones, and the full album played live inside and outside Glasgow's iconic Barrowlands Ballroom, a venue that now has become a home from home for Biffy. There's a great article about this live stream on tpimagazine.com, which breaks down the logistics of the entire production, with quotes from Simon and tour manager Neil Anderson. It really is a fascinating read. So when the Live at Wembley DVD CD set was released, I do remember that coming into a lot of criticism, and I kind of agreed with some of it, in that the live performance DVD didn't particularly feel like a full live performance because it was essentially a compilation of shots put all together. I mean, the set list was fantastic, you know, everything about that show was great, but it didn't feel like you were there. It felt like it was just everything mashed together. Parts of it were in slow motion, and it didn't really capture a Biffy gig, and that's what I found a little bit sad about that, and a little bit disappointing about it. This, however, this live stream that they did, I think completely captures the band in a live setting. From the moment it starts, it says side A, so you know what you're getting yourself into. We're going to see the full album being performed, and the band come on stage, and you can just tell that this has been organised and prepped. There's a stage manager, they're really taking it seriously. They get guided on stage to a bit of music, and then they start with North of North South. They've obviously got Mike with them, the second guitarist, and a pianist, I think he's called Gambler, which is his nickname, who comes in on a couple of the songs that sound really good. And one thing I noticed about this live stream is that the cameramen are always visible. There's a cameraman on each member of the band capturing everything. It's like they don't want to leave anything out. There's one at the side of the drums, there's someone on side, there's someone on James, there's someone capturing the whole room. There's even a cameraman, I think, devoted to Mike, which is something that, you know, he's always left out of these, you know, live performances, especially when they're playing at festivals. They just try and capture the 3 of them. But this feels like they're trying to capture the atmosphere of the full room. And straight away in the first song, and even into the second song, you can tell straight away that the cameraman and the editor know the songs really well, because nothing is missed. You know, if there's a little bass fill, it's on James. If there's a little violin, you know, screech, it's on the violins. So it just really feels like everything's been prepped and rehearsed, and it makes watching it just so much more interesting. Then in the second song, Cy and Gambler move off stage down to the floor, and they play The Champ. There's upright lamps on the floor, so the floor has been decorated, and the scenes have been set, and you can see mannequins behind the little orchestra that they've got. Even the orchestra, members of the orchestra are wearing masks with the paint stripe from the album. It just feels like lots of care and attention have been made, and it's just a pleasure to watch, because you think this is not something they've knocked together. This is something that they've planned and really taken great care over it, and it really feels a pleasure to watch in that way. Psy introduces the night, but he actually speaks into like a mannequin head, and he sort of says one bit of the sentence to the one ear and then moves out to the other ear. And I do think that if you were listening on headphones, that would be panned, which I think is a nice, interesting little thing that they've done. I mean, they could have easily just not done that, but it's just a little something extra that they've come up with. Into the third song, Weird Leisure, Psy and James move to Little Plinths at the end of the stage, and I think this is one of the best songs of the night. It sounds so good, so tight. Psy's voice sounds fantastic, and at this moment it really dawned on me that every song is being given a bespoke setting, a bespoke look, and that only kind of dawned on me in song 3, because they've moved for the third time. You just think, right, okay, they've actually thought about each song and where they're going to go, and I've not seen everything yet, and it just makes you more excited about what's coming next. And the editing and the camera movements, you never get bored. There's a little bit of a piano interlude. Psy changes his guitar, and all the members, apart from Gambler, go into the box, which I'm sure is the same box from the Flammable music video, and they play Tiny Indoor Fireworks. And it's only here that I noticed that Mike is wearing, along with everyone else, they've got sort of pastel colours, but he's what looks like pyjamas. And he's actually dancing in this song and having fun. It just looks so good. Then the band move away from the box apart from Psy, and they play The Worst Best Possible. Psy stays in the box, but there's no lights on the floor, which I don't think happened in the previous song. And I couldn't see the drum kit as well when he was playing, so either the drum kit's masked by the mirrors inside the box, or everything's moved away. And at this part I thought, is it an actual full-length live piece, or have they stopped after each song? And it's only there where I thought, have they just got rid of everything in the box so it could be Psy on his own? I have to watch it again to actually see what's in the box during Tiny Indoor Fireworks, and then during that other song. But it just seemed like everything was moved away. Whether it's an illusion, and the light and the mirrors have created an illusion to show that it's just Psy in the box, I don't know. There's a kaleidoscope effect on Psy when he's in the box, which is a lovely little touch. Again, it's like the mannequin head, you know, talking in the ears. It's something that they completely just ignored. You know, without it, the song still is interesting, the shots that they're using are still interesting, but that's just another addition. You know, it's like, you remember that song, well, I remember that song because of the kaleidoscope effect. It's just another little interesting layer that they put onto this thing. Then the band move back to the floor and they play Space, and I have to say, the guitar and the piano in this song just sound absolutely stunning. They work so well together, it's so tight. And again, a bit like Tiny Indoor Fireworks, I thought this song was a bit overblown, you know, production-wise on record. But here it just sounds absolutely beautiful. The light bulbs are twinkling, there's a glitter ball. I mean, they just throw everything at this to make it sound and look so beautiful. Then at the end of the song, the band walk off, and it goes to blackout and it says, end of side A. Then when we come back, the start of side B, the band come back on stage. The only thing that's a noticeable change is that Psy's now got his top off, which is something that we see quite a lot when watching Biffy live. And they move into the song End Of. I have to say, my personal favourite song from this album, and it's got to be a highlight for me in this live stream. Simply because of the setting, they seem to have created what I like to call an amp shrine. They seem to have created a wall of amps and lights behind the band, and they kick into this song. And it just felt like Biffy of old a little bit, because there was a couple of small amps that I did recognise from early tours in going watching them in the early 2000s. And it was as if they're just bringing that vibe back a little bit. In the breakdown, there's a blue light strobe, which looks really good. It's such a strong song as well. I absolutely love this song. It's just absolutely ferocious. And they play it so well here. And it's funny listening to this song alongside Space, because you just find yourself thinking, is this the same band that just performed that beautiful, delicate, intricate song Space. But that's what Biffy can do. They're capable of showing both sides. You know, Space and End Of together on record and together here in the live stream. They just sound so opposite to each other, but they pull both off really well. Then Cy picks up a stick, is what it looks like, but you find out straight away that it's actually a 360 camera before they go into instant history. Cy stays on the floor and the band move on stage. And like the other song, I didn't really think too much about instant history when it was released, but this one again just sounds like, you know, a real galloping, thunderous song. And I have to say the 360 camera, it comes up later on, a couple of songs later, but I'm not entirely sure why it was added. You don't really see much of the 360 look, but again, it's just another addition like the kaleidoscope. It's just another layer, another sort of quirk to add to this song. I believe The Pinkiest Limit is, for me, the weakest song on this album. The band go fully on stage again like they did for the first song, North of North South. Then we move into the acoustic song Opaque. The band go back down to the floor. The orchestra come back, and like I said, Ben walks around with the 360 cam, maybe just to give him something to do, because there's not much drums in this one. I think this song on record is a bit forgettable. They seem to have made a habit now of putting an acoustic song on every album, like they're obliged to, and this song doesn't really stand out to me on album. But with the production, with the lights, I think it is really special here. When Cy sings "These Walls Are Closing In," the floor lights move up to create what looks like a prison, which is a really nice effect. But yeah, I really like this one. And then we move to the final song in Cop Syrup, and I think you'll agree, an absolutely brutal barnstorming song to end the album, to end this set, to end any night really, if you're going to a Biffy gig. The band expands, Ben goes back to the box, Cy is on the floor, you have James on the amp shrine, and Mike on stage, and then halfway through the song, Cy decides to have a little walk out of the auditorium, down the steps and outside, which is something that caught me by surprise. I just imagine Cy in the meeting, you know, in the production meeting, and the ideas are flowing about kaleidoscope effects and, you know, talking into some person's ear and it's panning the headphones and all these crazy ideas, the 360 camera, and then he just pipes up, "I want to go outside," in the middle of the song while I'm playing. And just everyone just thought, "Oh, how can we do that?" And it is really quite remarkable to see it happen. I couldn't quite believe it. I don't really know what he was doing at the time. And when he went outside, was anyone else quite surprised that it was daylight outside in Glasgow? I found that quite jarring, the fact that it was kind of 2 o'clock in the middle of Glasgow and there was just a few people walking around and roadworks, and it's just Cy, you know, smiling at the camera, and then he walks back and finishes the song. It also reminded me of an episode of Jeremy Kyle when the camera was following him out the auditorium. There was quite a trend with the Jeremy Kyle show in him just following guests when guests have stormed off, and the camera would follow them as well, and it just felt like Cy just have a bit of a hissy fit and the camera needed to follow him. And at the end of the song, the band get together, they hug, they bow, and they say, "We are Biffy fucking Clyro," and then they walk off. And it was just 50 odd minutes of absolute beauty. I thought it was enthralling, I thought it was captivating. It's edited so well. The editor, like I said before, the editor and the cameraman must know all the little moves and all the little moments in the songs and captures them so well. Who's doing what? It's taken so much care and affection, I think, to put this together. I think it's been directed and stage managed down to a T. You can tell they've taken it seriously, from the entrances and the exits and all, you know, every little quirk that they put into each song. The scene changes, the little musical interludes, the guitar changes, you know, everything's been thought of. There's always an interesting shot. It's a feast for the eyes most of the time, and if you're even the slightest Biffy fan, or even you're just a fan of rock music, I'd really urge you to watch this and to just see this celebration of music happen. And of course, we must not forget that this was created and put together and performed essentially in lockdown last year. And it must have been so rewarding and such a huge thing for the band to do. And this is something that Si's talked about in interviews, but you know, during lockdown, musicians especially must have felt quite useless with, you know, gigs being cancelled and them not having a job essentially. The fact that they could all get together and put something together like this and have a project to work on, it must have felt so rewarding, and it must have created so much pride for the band to put this together. And me personally, as a fan, I found Ellipsis, the album before this, to be quite disappointing. And the tour that was planned for 2020 was cancelled, so there wasn't really much going around Biffy-wise. So the album was released in August, and then a day after this was put together, and it was like the band was back. And I'm really disappointed in myself that I didn't grab hold of this and invest in this as soon as it was released, because I would have been blown away, and it would have really cheered up my lockdown. And it really is, I think, a little time capsule in what the band was doing at this time. It's perfectly put together. It captures the band at this point in what they're doing, and it's a creative reaction to the lockdown, and it just really shows off the pride and the love that they have for that new album. So those are my thoughts on the Biffy Clyro A Celebration of Endings live stream from the Glasgow Barrowlands Ballroom. An iconic venue, very much a home from home for them. They would have absolutely loved being there and taking over the place for a couple of weeks and putting this together for the fans. And I really urge you to watch it. It's on the iPlayer now on the BBC. I don't know how long it's on for, but do invest your time in watching it because you will not regret it.
All the way